All right, good day, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So today we're catching up with, yet another new guest co-host. And we might be talking a little bit on the business front because, well, let's be real. We keep it on health, business, and lifestyle, over 400 shows. And I love to hit on all three domains. And what I found over the years is that even if I bring in a very high-performing influencer in the business and entrepreneurial space, you'll find that they may actually know a couple of things about a healthy lifestyle. So it's become a natural balance. And I also want to remind people that what keeps this economy going, at least for anybody who's a U.S. citizen listening to this show, I know we have people around the world listening, you'll find out that most businesses that are running this economy are small to mid-sized businesses. So I love geeking out with fellow influencers. And this gentleman has one hell of a background. I mean, guys, we're talking about spreading across philanthropy, ministry, activism, medicine. This guy seems to be hitting on some extreme levels of influence. I mean, we're talking about brands around Nike, Virgin, just in case you ever heard those names before. And part of his core of his brand is around taking on new ground, or, takenewground.com. But the tagline that really caught me when I got his information was, let's turn leadership. That's right. I said shit into leadership. And as a marketing guy, I love that. Well, let's say play on words. So he might know a little about leadership coaching. That's why we're talking today, training, consulting, etc. He's on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Adrian Koehler, sir, welcome to the show.
Scott, great to be here, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And solid work on the beard.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm pleased to be a co-host. So I'll turn this ship wherever the hell I want to turn it.
That's right. That's the beauty of it. You actually have freedom. God forbid.
God forbid. Anyway, it's great to be here, man. Love it. Love the vibe here. Love the conversation.
And thank you for taking a serious influence in your audio quality while doing the microphone. I can't tell you how many people I've had to coach on that. And it's just refreshing when I don't even have to worry about mentioning it, but I like to sing praise when it's due. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chad Brown, who's on my team and tells me what to
buy. Yes, microphones aren't cheap, right?
No.
So the good ones anyway. So
yeah.
But that being said, so you guys have been busy. I know that you guys came in through one of these new, I like to quote them, podcasting agencies or booking agencies, which back when I started the show, I did everything myself and then got into a VA thing. And then all of a sudden these agencies started popping up. So as a guy heavily into the sales and marketing world, it's kind of refreshing. It does make it a little bit easier, but I'll find out that not every agencies are created equal. Not everybody understands how to probably put together a bio, let alone their background, let alone align with the messaging of the show. And when they sent me you, I was like, oh, dude, after I saw the website, then your podcast, I was like, okay, he and I can have some fun. I think this would be a good show.
That's great. I love it.
So one thing that really just stood out to me, I'm going to jump right in here. You guys obviously like to talk about leadership, specifically fearless leadership. And as a former hotshot wildland firefighter, because you don't know my entire background, I left the corporate world, went and did that, published a book about it last year, just because I wanted to, and then I started a charity. So I knew you and I would understand philanthropy. And one of the biggest things I learned from wildland firefighting with the federal government all over the West on one of those elite hotshot crews was you have to fall in line, very militaristic, and you have to follow certain guidelines, rules, policies, et cetera, especially to protect each other's lives. But there's also a certain accountability, a certain responsibility under self-leadership, which that was one of the key things that stood out about your background and what you influence. And I wanted to geek out with you just to kick that off. I don't template the show, but I wanted to at least start there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, tell me, whenever you thought about, so when you started thinking about your background as a hotshot firefighter, which is awesome, and then focusing in on the self-leadership side of it, tell me, I'm guessing there's like a moment or two that come to mind naturally where that was you found yourself at the crux, like that there's shit going down. I'm assuming that high levels of danger. And if I don't get my shit straight, I can't be anything to any other people. Like, is there a moment that pops out for you?
Absolutely. One of the things about my background when I did that was I was considered the old guy on the crew and I was only 31. Because I was in the corporate monkey space and then hated it and then, left it all behind, paying my way through school, all this stuff. So there was already and I had taken courses on leadership. I had managed, coached, and developed people professionally.
Right.
All that meant, Jack, shit
Mm-hmm.
when I got hired onto a federal wildland firefighting crew. They're like, yeah, your BS in marketing and psychology could care less. All the years and people you manage could care less. Their exact quote rookie year was, all we care about is hard work, and all we want to see out of you is asses and elbows, bending over, digging in the dirt, and wielding chainsaws and fighting Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Coming into Snooki year, second year rookie, this is where I'll align on your question. It was, okay, now you got some experience under your belt. Yeah, the crap you saw rookie year, you're still going to see a lot more crap, Snooki year. That's why we call it a second year rookie, because you're still not truly like legit, but you've definitely seen a lot. And then when you're like standing down walls of fire or just staring at them, hoping you don't have to stand them down. There's colleagues on your crew that you've learned to bond with, but there's new dudes who might have come on that year. And as the older guy on the crew, and it doesn't always have to be age related, your leadership is looking to you to also step up on your own. They're not saying that in front of the other guys. They're expecting it. Right. And when you start recognizing that, it's like, wait a minute. Okay, yes, that's the level of command. But there's a responsibility that I bring on, not just with age, but also experience, that we need to cross-pollinate across everybody else on the crew, because we're risking our lives together. And that was one of those first epiphanies, especially on a fire in 2011, where it was literally a wall of fire and it changed directions and started coming at us. And we had to about face and speed hike out of that area to a safety zone until that basically blasted over the road, caught the other forest on fire. And we went back in that night on night operations to try and get under control, because it was just too dangerous to do during the day. And that was one of the first moments when you asked that question that kind of stood out to me. It was like, okay, guys, but you got to dial it in, man. You got to get it together, because we need each of you to have your focus.
Right on. Yeah. I mean, we think about, we're distinct. We love being distinct. We don't do what most consulting companies do. We don't do what most coaching companies or training companies do. Most of that shit's boring and useless. And what they do is usually provide formulas that gesture at results. We don't mess around with three very distinct conversations. One is, we do care about results. That's what people are paying for. Something new that's happening that wasn't happening before. So we get really clear on that. And how do we do that? Well, leadership, if we could talk about what leadership is for a long time, but at least we know leadership is getting results through other people. We know that. Like otherwise that's not leadership. It's something else. It's performance maybe, or if it's operating, it's executing, something like that, which there's lots of issues, even in moments like you're describing, where if you see yourself as a sole entity, and I've in lots of work with my clients, they struggle because if they've risen through the ranks, or they used to be a part of a team and now are out on their own, maybe starting their own company, or risen up and now leading at a higher level, they must stop being personally excellent as a focus. Now my job is to scale that conversation with a team, which is much more complex and much more vulnerable if you do it really well. So getting results through others, team leadership is the second bucket, generating new results, enrolling a team. But we spend most of our time on this topic, which is self-mastery or self-leadership, mostly because it is blind for most people. Most people live in I am this conversation about themselves with the world, which is a really horrible invitation, both for the person and the team around them. Because if I am fill in the blank, that means that, first off, you're agreeing with Freud, who had some ideas right, but he cursed humanity with his philosophy that we are an etiological being. I am the effect, and I am not the cause. Our history is cause via Freud. And so if I am a certain way, then we're all screwed, man. It's just I'm a baked, I'm done.
Yeah. And
just either it works or it doesn't work, and either get along with me or don't get along with me. And I'm just stuck. I'm a fixed mindset. I am a, fixed personality theory, whatever you want to call it, instead of a growth mindset, which has been obviously very popularized, or a dynamic view of self. Right. So all of our work is really the hidden conversation that we don't say out loud a lot, is our work is really on the study of becoming. Now, this is the most romantic notion that humans have ever known. Like, this is why we watch movies. We watch the guy, the unlikely hero, stand up, and take on adversity, take internally, externally come through, save lives, change people's worlds. That's your stories. Those are heroic stories. They are a study of becoming. We talk about leadership that way, like who someone is. And are you willing to have an aim for who you are and your impact beyond what you've seen in the past? That takes some balls. And most people aren't up for that. They would just rather do incremental change that's justifiable. I don't want to put my neck out too far. I don't want to, if I'm that guy and the fire comes, am I looking around to see who's going to step up, or have I already preset that when the shit hits the fan, I'm the first guy?
Yeah.
And even in the face of adversity, the face of uncertainty, I will go generate answers instead of letting the world come to me, or there is some hierarchy. I understand what you're saying. There's also, I'm not going to wait for permission to at least push the hierarchy. Like, I want to be a force to be reckoned with my good intent. Like, I'm here to make this thing happen. And will they, do they need to work with me in a way that I'm going to hold, Scott back? Scott is coming. He's going to step up. We only have to throttle down his leadership. Most people don't live like that.
That was definitely me rookie year.
I bet.
They're like, dude, Scott, we just need you to just work with our process. Like, we know you got a lot of background, you're not our normal rookie.
Yeah.
But just roll with it for a little bit. And then we'll ease some. And it was humbling.
Great.
It was, and it was a challenge, honestly.
Yep. Sure.
Because I was used to having this career experience and all of this type of stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, wait, I get to take a break and just chill, which was after I got used to it, refreshing. But then sure enough, going into second year, even though I'm still a snooki, all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, if you can keep an eye on this new rookie and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not even in leadership. Like, yeah, but you're good. We trust you. Right? You've proven yourself already. That was that aha moment. So
yes. Well, that's I've never said this before, but it is presence beyond, what's the word I was thinking of? Position. You had presence beyond your position. Like, you didn't have the position, but your presence was obviously way beyond the position you were at, which is, obviously that's just great feedback. It's like, Scott, you're not that guy yet, but Glenn, you are that guy. Actually, we just haven't given you the promotion yet.
Oh yeah. It made me feel like crap when I figured I was meant to be. It became an adventure career for me. I knew that I was capable of doing so much more. No offense to firefighters out there. They do a lot in this world. I just knew that I had all these other skill sets that were not being tapped into, and I could apply them in much better domains, right? Never planned back then launching a podcast or becoming an author or launching my own company yet, but that was all apparently in the works.
Yeah. I
but
get it.
To your point, is like, and again, in that world, they don't really coach because I'm quoting for the air quoting for the video watchers. They'll see it. For the listeners, they're not going to see that. But it's like the coaching world. It's hilarious because I have clients like, oh, how come you don't have coaching, in your branding and in your website? I'm like, because I've worn so many coaching hats. I spent 12 years as a ski race coach in my free time, coaching, kids and working with ski race kids, like high level athletes in my free time. I coach cycling. I'm a pretty damn good cyclist, mountain bike racer, et cetera, in my free time. I've done lots of coaching. I was a coach in the corporate world. They got rid of our managerial titles, trained us a lot, right? Lead together, all this stuff. But I was like, okay. And then I started seeing all these, oh, I'm a 18-year-old business coach, or I'm sure you love those. Actually, let's pause on that. What are your thoughts on that? I don't want to bring age into it, but I'm like, do you really have that much experience to be coaching and developing other people yet?
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I've never decided to really care about what my competition is doing.
True.
I mean, people ask me all the time, like, hey, which coach would you suggest? Or what are other comparables? And my real answer is, I don't look at all. I don't really give a shit. I really don't. And so if some 18-year-old's got some chops, I mean, so there's kind of mentoring and coaching. So 18-year-old obviously can't be a mentor because he's not been there before. And a great mentor has been there before and can show the ropes and share the journey and blah, blah, blah. And There is a possibility that an 18-year-old could coach. But yet it depends on coach whom, so
good point.
Definitely could coach somebody around there that have been or have in their world, been there before. And at least let's see, I've been at this, I don't know, over a dozen years or so now, and I'm 42 now. So I started when I was 30. I started out coaching people around my age, which were all kind of middle manager people, and then eventually got, moved into a corporate, and my first corporate contract was with this multinational architecture firm. And all of a sudden I'd gone from doing like a free thing, as you do free shit. At least I always did free shit just to get in the door.
Yep.
And would say, oh, I'll do this if the senior VP is in the room and I can meet with her afterwards.
Yes.
Then it's
You want
free.
those influencers. Yep.
As long as she's there and I get one-on-one time with her afterwards. And it worked. And I got a contract for like coaching 14 vice presidents, all of which 10 to 15 years older than me, and a lot more boring. They're all architects. So like, it didn't really go that well, just because I was pretty bored, all over the world. So I could get, there was a 15-year gap. And when people looked at my history, I've never had a corporate job, nor would I want one. And I'd get fired.
I'll second that, since I've already been there. So
yeah, I'm just not a corporate guy.
Yeah.
I'm really not, and I don't know, probably if you craft out something unique or specific, I could maybe hang for a while, but like, I just break rules. I'm not that interested in hierarchy. I tend to be loud, tend to have opinions.
Wait, are you trying to say you don't like to fall in line?
Amen.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Apparently it takes some of us a few years and a few hats that we thought we wanted to wear to realize we didn't want to wear them. And then you make the shift. So I say kudos that you at least recognize that early enough to help you craft your path of influence. Cause like a lot of us didn't know. And we're like, oh, well, that's where we're supposed to go. I'm going to go that way. And I'm a guy who grew up on a farm, dude. Like, I'm the first person in my family that I paid my way, did the whole collegiate thing. Am I using it? No. I mean, technically I have a marketing company and I have a marketing degree. But actually, I'm using the psychology. I always tell people, I actually mentioned that in the book too. I was like, because I love people like Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs guy.
Yep.
I agree. We have a massive loss of high level talent because people are stuck in school thinking they need this English degree or math degree. And then they're just going to go work in the business world. And I'm like, dude, go work in the business world. The degree's not going to change. Right. And then they can find great helpers like you. Companies are going to hire top talent to mature and grow that talent. So whether you have a degree or not, I got Adrian.
Yeah.
So
totally. Yeah. I there's so many points here that I care about, but it's partially, I guess what I was going to say. I mean, I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Illinois, and both my parents are school teachers. If I had like a corporate dad or mom, I might've gone that way. It just wasn't seen. I just know that they did the same job for 30 years and hated it for most of it. And I knew I didn't want that, right? I heard the complaints at the dinner table every night around students, around parents, around.
That's not a good molding experience. Yeah.
No, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew what I didn't want to do, which is to like sign up for some job that 15 years from now, it'll pay off in a retirement. I know that is a formula for doom, for despair, because you just got to hold on. It's like
quicksand. That's all I think of when you say that. I just think of quicksand. Yeah.
Right on. I was telling my son, he's 9, in the car yesterday, coming back from the golf course. And what were we talking about? We wanted to buy something, or he wanted to buy something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? No, I don't know if the store would be worth anything. We actually stopped by the grocery store, and I said, "Hello, sir," to the security guard. And I paused because the security guard is sitting down, not paying attention, makes eye contact with me. And I just said, "Hello, sir." And I was talking with him. Scout's my boy's name. We were walking to the car, and I said, "Hey, why do you think I did that?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Well, because you want to give people honor." And he felt
respect.
He felt good about that. And this guy makes $15 an hour. And so what's the best thing you could do is pay this guy some respect. I said, and I told him how much I make an hour. I said, see the difference?
Yeah.
So I can slow down and say, respect this guy.
See, I believe every story has value. And so I'll reinforce your quick side story has validity, because there's a lot of us out there that we feel like, again, I wanted to chase the corporate dreams because, that's where the big salaries were. Mm-hmm. And then they just start stacking more responsibility on, with sometimes lacking training. Some companies had great training. Some companies were smart enough to bring in influencers from outside the company to grow the talent pool. Actually, I'll give a quick shout out. I've done it before on the show. T-Mobile USA. huge company in the wireless market, owned by
Yep.
Deutsche Telekom in Europe. So when they came here, they acquired the company that I was working for years ago. And they're the ones who turned us from management into coaches. And they had us go to Nashville, Tennessee, brought in this big outsourcing company. And I got to tell you, they did a great job. Because then I went back to school on nights and weekends and started studying psychology. And I was connecting to a lot of the stuff that they were doing. So that's why I always reinforce with people, like, again, I'm not anti-college or anti-university, but if you're obviously chasing sciences, like my wife, she's a large animal veterinarian, a horse doctor, and she's a doctor of chiropractic, very smart woman. So it's like, yeah, you might have to go to school to figure out how to cut into a horse. Just saying. I mean,
you better.
I don't know. You could wing it on the farm. Might not go well. So, but like psychology, for example, to this day, I still pull so much from a lot of what I learned. And to this day, I geek out. I'm constantly, when I'm traveling on business, I'm constantly consuming audiobooks and podcasts. And I always bring up a good percentage of psychology. But I love that little mindset piece you taught your son, because it should not matter what someone does for a living. I mean, I was dropping off apparently this is old school. I told this to a friend, and I'm like, it should be consistent. The people pick up the trash and the recycling. It's already worked in the township we live in. It's already whatever paid for through our mortgage, whatever. But I was like, hey, I go buy the gift cards and I tape them to the trash bins down on the road. And my wife was like, what are you doing? And she's 5 years younger than me. I'm like, I'm thanking them for their service. She's like, yeah, but they're already paid. I said, no, it's the holidays. And it's a dirty job. So somebody's got to do it. Classic quote. But also I made sure I do little personal notes. I say, I don't know each of you. I was like, but thank you for your service. And to you, I don't care who I'm walking up to, Miss, Mr. I always show respect, whether they're older or even younger. I don't care. It's just common respect and communication. And I think that just drops people's walls right off the bat. And then I like to wait for that person, then say, oh, dude, I'm not a Mr. or I'm not a Mrs. Just call me John. Just call me Pete. Then great, right? Now we've opened the conversation up.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah. Good on you.
Well, yeah. Well, and part of the punchline with Scout is because I'm talking with him about, what he thinks he wants to do. And I think all that, like content wise, like what am I actually doing? I think that's for later. I think now it's building in a worldview, like the fact that you can go create your own path. His answer is right now he's going to go join the NFL. Great. I mean, good luck. I mean, I'm like 5'10" or something, so good luck. I was
gonna say, how's the gene pool? I don't know.
I know. I
don't know. I didn't know your height until just now. So
I worked really hard. But that was the best I could do, and barely get to D3 football. But for him, it's like, hey man, you can actually create your own path, but you got to like do something that blows people's minds. If you do that, you make a lot of money. If you do something that's just like everybody else, you'll make okay money. If you do something that's not as good, then you're not going to make much. Then you got to go work for somebody else. So, I'm just building in his worldview and actually like treating him most of these, like, I don't know what people call everything that's has to do with emotions. They call it soft skills, which is, I think, ways to devalue them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because like people think soft, it's symbolic of weakness. And that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah. In our work, we call it vital competencies. Like this is where life is. Like the connection between two humans, that's where life is, period. I mean, we can have a transaction, but we're not going to have a future together unless we like each other. Or we get some vested interest and we got shared interest together. And actually, oh, you know what? I really trust Scott. I get this guy. Even if we want different things and I get you and we might be on the other sides of the table, but it's like, man, I get this dude. He's a real deal. Now that's vital. That's like truth telling, and that's really listening, and that's presence and all the things that you naturally show up as.
Which you need to have basic communication skills, aka some soft skills wired into that. Are you actually, I love this statement, which is definitely lacking in the modern era. Pause, number one, and then active listening. Active listening. I'm sure you guys probably hit on that.
Yeah. I mean, we rarely do like, hey, here's the 5 steps to active listening. We rarely do that kind of,
Yeah, but that was vital skill sets, especially
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I was just in New York this last week with a family business. They've got about 2 billion under assets. It's real estate. And it's a mom and a dad and 4 sons and 2 son-in-laws. And we could go in there and teach around how to run a family business. Or we could actually invite them to go do it in real time, which is our style. We're like the push people off the high dive type. So
I
that's
like
why
that.
we're
Like the
not, that's
birds
why we're
throwing the
not,
young out of the nest, just get
yeah,
into it.
let's
Yeah.
just do it. What do you guys not want to talk about? We're going to be together for 2 days. I don't know what you don't want to talk about yet, but if we get there, this will be worth a lot more to you. So what do you not want to talk about? Let's start there. And people are like, yeah, I know. It's okay. You're going to die. I know you're going to die. Let's just die fast.
That's why I'm an
So
adrenaline junkie nut. I've to this day, I tell people my success is one of those basic fundamentals. Not everybody's born into being an adrenaline junkie, but like, I
right.
mean, I proposed my wife skydiving, for God's sakes. Our wedding was heli skiing in Banff, Canada. And you don't have to
Amazing.
be, quote, Richie Rich to do these things. It's called set your goals and go for it. But
Right.
it's what you just hinted at there. It's being, you got to push yourself to the edge, to those
Yeah.
points of being uncomfortable. And if you don't know how to do that, then bring in experts like yourself, right? Because, or surround yourself, right? They tell people, what's the quotes now? Product or the sum of the five people spend the most time with. Very, very true in business as well. Over the years,
Sure.
I keep leveling myself up. My business level communications weekly are with CEIOs. Yes, I still work with, I'll still work with some management level people and below, because I'm trickling things down throughout the companies that I'm working with. But in the end, yeah, if this was 15, 20 years ago, I wasn't that confident about sitting down with CEIOs and telling them what I thought.
Right on. Yeah. Well, that's probably why, back to your question, I don't know, 10 minutes ago about can an 18-year-old pull it off?
Mm.
I mean, probably not, only because they've learned, I mean, whatever. If they're going to be a coach, they've gone to somebody, they've probably paid somebody some money to learn a process, and that's fine. But they probably don't have the courage nor the ability or the wherewithal to hang in the uncertainty of the moment. They've got a script.
Yep.
And
like
they
that.
can work a script. But they probably don't have much presence because they probably haven't failed enough.
Yeah.
You know, if you
And
fail
to your
really
point
hard,
earlier, they may actually have a good baseline of knowledge. Maybe whoever coached them or helped them launch their new coaching business might have actually given them a lot of great knowledge, right? So they could be on book or on paper actually sharing some great nuggets, hopefully from whatever mastermind they're in, whatever. Like, but one thing I've learned over the years from when I've hired coaches or when people have had me quote coach or work with them, it is every good coach should have a coach, right? Should have somebody above them. And when you've exhausted those resources, don't be afraid to look elsewhere and grow beyond, and then pass somebody else, onto that coach who spent years working with or whatever it may be. So I think that's another basic, important fundamental. I'm sure you guys have also come across that in your practice as well.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, the guy that coached me now runs my coaching department.
Very nice.
The guy that I hired, that was when I ran the foundation, they hired to go run the curriculum. Now he and I are business partners.
I like it.
And we're I mean, we're sharing nonstop.
That's pretty cool.
What we're learning, and he and I were in the room together just in New York this last weekend, and I'm taking notes on this guy. Like, I don't even I mean, the turn he made in the room, I would never have even seen it.
And you guys are already working together, and he still surprises you.
Oh, nonstop. He surprises me. And I don't need to go mimic him. I want to mimic the way he sees the world. I'm going to go stay myself, and he and I are going to talk about things distinctly, and our moods are different, and he's 67, I'm 42, and we're distinct on purpose. And we're explicit about it. Like, I'm here to retain and then expand as much of his legacy as possible, because he's been a huge gift, one of my best friends ever in life.
Wow.
And I'm his guy. Like, I am his major investment point from his influence for the rest, however many more years we've got with him. So we're unapologetic about that. But man, I want to get what he gets, not teach what he teaches. If that distinction makes sense.
I definitely get that. Yeah. Because again, I think that's a mistake that I even fell into years ago. Was once I had a great mentor, I started, I don't want to say mimicking, but mirroring.
Sure. And it's natural.
It's natural. And then you realize, especially if the mentor is good enough, they're like, no. I don't want you to be me. I just want you to absorb the techniques and recognize what's happening here. And then you have the professional responsibility to make it your own.
Right on.
And I think it brings back to, and I'm hearing from you, is that importance of maintaining that individuality.
Right.
Not being so individual that you're afraid to be mentored, coached, and grown, but just reminding yourself that what you bring to the table is important. I used to make fun of myself. I was like, until I realized it was a good thing, I was like, oh man, I'm just one of those Scott of all trades years ago. because I had a buddy of mine that I used to ski race coach kids with. And he goes, dude, I don't understand what it is you do. Because he's like, the night before we were having a scotch, and he was like, dude, you just ran off like 25 different jobs you've already done in your life. He's like, where'd you find time to do all that? I was like, one, I was single a long time. Two, even when I had my corporate gig, I was bartending in my free time. I was a bouncer because I just like to stay busy, and I hadn't found something that could just suck up all of my energy just yet. Right. So I just kept diversifying it and picking up skill sets. So it just made me more comfortable that to this day, I can pretty much stick myself into any situation, probably handle any kind of conversation, thanks to those, if you want to call them soft skills back in the day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Right on, man. Yeah. I mean, when I first got into coaching, I would hope nobody would ask, how'd you get into this? Because I didn't like, because it wasn't an Accenture guy, wasn't an IBM guy, wasn't a Google guy, wasn't a blah, blah, blah. So therefore there's a natural thing. I'd been spending years doing a bunch of crazy, weird shit, from like being an ICU nurse at the bedside when trying to keep a kid alive to, running a multi-million-dollar foundation, working mostly doing leadership training with murderers, to taking teams to go overseas, and or like when Haiti happened, and like I was the guy that got the call. Hey, Haiti, hey, what are we going to do? And I'm like, shit, I don't know. Give me 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, a few days later, I'm on the ground with a set of doctors and, and setting up a clinic.
That's pretty cool.
And well, all that to say was like, I don't know, except for
people knew who to call.
I'm going to go figure it out. Like I'm the guy that figures it out. And even now, I mean, all my clients are all brilliant. They're all and probably exponentially smarter than I am.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, you've been smart enough over the years to keep increasing that circle of influence. And then also you get to now choose the kind of clientele you want to work with. That's something that I've tried to slowly rub off to my wife. She has her own practice with a co-founder. And when I first started dating her, because of my years of sales experience too, I was like, hey, I keep hearing you guys complain about these same 2 or 3 customers. Why don't you just fire them?
Yeah.
And it was like, you could hear a pin drop because no one had ever said that to them, because they're veterinary doctors. And from the medicine world, there's like this wall between a business mindset and a medical mindset. And it just does, it's like, there's no pass through of education or communication. And it's like, you guys own your company. I get it. You feel that you're worrying about the patient, but actually there's other veterinarians out there. It's called your competition. And if anything, and you don't like that competitor, great. Help that annoying customer go there. All right. Like, have a nice day. And then all of a sudden your stress comes down, and now you're freed up to take on better paying clients who actually pay for all your extra high-end services and all these other things. It's only taken about 6-7 years out of our 10 years together to help see that some of that come to fruition.
Somebody else probably had to say it, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, because I'm the husband. So yeah,
I get it. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. That's why I'm glad you appreciate the branding side of it. I mean, probably, it's a couple of years ago, we just decided to just go all in on our style, which is like, we're just the no bullshit crew. If you search, words on our website, takeNewGround.com, you'd find bullshits on there.
I got to screen share that while you're saying that, because I just like the simple graphic there for the YouTube watchers out there. Yeah. It's that simple. I mean, I love it. It's professional.
And everybody that's leading gets it. Like, there's a bunch of shit going down, and how do we turn this shit into something that's useful? Yeah. So most assessments are bullshit. Most offsites are bullshit. Most coaching is bullshit. Why? Because it is. It is. And I happen to be doing all those things that fit in those same categories for people, but I need to agree with the cynicism of my clients. And because I wouldn't trust me either, because all these coach people or these trainer people or these leadership people, who the fuck are you? And what do you know? You don't know my world. I'm like, I do not know your world.
True.
But I know that I warn them all. I said, if I'm going to really believe in you, like I will, if you're my client, I'm really going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself, because I'm not tied into all your imposter bullshit. Right. So I'm going to believe in you. That means I'm not going to believe you all the time. So I'm going to be the one that actually believes in you and calls you on your bullshit. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here to actually cultivate your thinking. So I got to test what's in the water.
The few when I because I love geeking out about brands and branding. I've already hinted at that. So the few clients that I've taken on in the past couple of years to really just overhaul their branding, I warned them from the get go. I'm like, I'm in vibe with you, man. I'm like, FYI, this is going to be a kind of a tough love relationship. And they're
Right
like,
on.
what does that mean? I'm like, I'm probably going to verbally set you on fire. And now, granted,
Yeah.
it's okay. I'm a former
It's great.
firefighter. I'm going to help you put it out. But I have after I finished firefighting, I had a massive, again, some people aren't into tattoos. I have a 20-hour piece. It is a phoenix tattooed on my back.
Amazing.
And because that experience just tore me down and rebuilt me.
Yeah.
And I love the symbolism behind the phoenix. You're
Yeah.
born again through fire. And it's stuff like that. Like I now have words that we were in our firefighting handbook: duty, respect, and integrity are tattooed on my ribs. I added those. Did not tell the wife I did that. She was not happy. Always communicate with your wife. We were not married yet, but these things.
Side note.
Yeah. Throw some wisdoms in there.
Yeah.
But it's like and I realized, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, it's from my past, but my past should be passing forward into I don't live in the past, but I want to take the successes of my past adventures or career choices or those moments in fire and now pass them forward into what I'm influencing personally and professionally. And that's when the light bulbs are going off and it's like, yes. And I realize if I'm taking on a client, they're getting some tough love and I'm going to tell them how it is and they may not like it, but
that's right.
I think it's my professional responsibility.
Yeah, we call it fierce advocacy. I warn them all. I will talk about this every single time before somebody signs something, just because I've not done it before, especially early when I started, when I was just trying to make money and pay the bills. I'd sign anybody with a pulse, a little bit of money, and I didn't really care about the quality of the interaction. I mean, I cared at some level, but it wasn't like I was vetting for excellence. I wasn't. I was looking to get clients. As I vet for excellence now, excellence and experience, both for me and for them, which I am a clean eye. If I don't like the person, or if I don't have great chemistry with them, or if I'm not going to want to talk about them, then I'm not going to take them. Somebody on my team could have them or something, but I'm not going to.
Good point.
But which is great. But every time before I sign something, I do tell them really unapologetically, first off, I'm a shot of whiskey. I'm not some kind of spritzer. So if you don't like whiskey, you're probably not going to like me. There's no chaser with this guy. Like, I am going to burn.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, and I tell them, I want you to know exactly where I'm coming from. I'm a fierce advocate. If we work together, I will be a fierce advocate for you. Advocate, help you get what you want. And it'll be
that
fierce.
Is something I also live and abide by. I think if I can't sing your praise throughout the process, even if we had just signed on the dotted line and we might be working together the next 6 months to 18 months to 2 years, it is, or beyond. Yeah, there should be that common respect, and I should see their vision with them. And it's like, oh yeah, I can see the viability here. I like this person. I like their brand. I like their company. Let's go. Or else the passion from me is not going to go into it either. And then I feel like I'm not actually helping them enough.
Yeah. If I get a grungy feeling, I call it, when I see they're on my schedule, I'm like, man, I need to fire. I need to let them go somewhere else, i.e. fire them, just because I know I'm not in it. I can call myself to the surface. I can always do that. I can talk myself into being present and listening. But man, I want it to matter. I really want it to matter. And they deserve that, especially as you keep raising your prices. It's like, you're going to, charge that much. You really, need to be all in, not like a manufactured all in. I'd just rather it be visceral for me.
Oh yeah. I think a lot of people, I think you had mentioned earlier the whole imposter syndrome.
Yep.
And I've reminded a lot of my friends that aren't even necessarily clients. I'm just always dropping bombs their way because I care about them and their businesses. I'm like, guys, dude, you've put in enough reps. You're doing well. Own it. Don't be afraid to charge a little bit more. You're bringing way more talent to the table than your competition. Just step up and get out of your own way. And then all of a sudden they're making more money. They're putting out even better clientele, being even better customers. It just levels everybody up together. And I think the sooner businesses can do that, and not just businesses, it could be foundations and charities and whatever the organization may be. It's that's going to help your team, your member, everybody involved. Yeah. So I love the fact you guys take that very seriously.
We do. I just tell them, it's you're going to feel like an imposter. That happens. And it's a good sign. It means you're going beyond what you know. That's all that's happening. You're exploring new terrain. So of course, your brain's going to do what your brain's wired to do, which is look out for trouble. And you're going to look internally and do I have what it takes? That's great. That's fuel. Do I have what it takes? Let's go find out, shall we? And if you you know, and if you fail hard, whatever, all that stuff. But, you know, imposter syndrome is a great indicator that you're doing the right thing, instead of like where people and all they're like looking for a pacifier these days, like as a reason for me not doing it.
Yeah, there won't be coddling. Sorry.
No,
It's
no.
because it's a matter of like you're trying to help people push through their fears and
Yeah.
on your end to become better leaders. Well, it's like,
Yeah.
guys, like those your team beneath you, and maybe it's an executive overseeing other executives. It's like, guys, like they're looking to you for that. They might not have said it, but
Yeah.
they need to respect you and follow you and grow with you. Maybe not follow you, grow with you.
Right
And
on.
they got to know that you got the strength and the power to push through that because they got their own fears they're working on too.
Right. Which is really it's honoring our convictions as much as our emotions. Most when the imposter syndrome is really my feelings about what's happening matter more to me than my capacity.
Hmm.
Because, you know, I mean, I speak on lots of big stages these days. I sit in rooms way, you know, huge, you know, conversations that have lots of dollar signs in the back end. Am I scared? Yes, I am. I am intimidated. I am insecure. All that shit's happening. I know it.
Sure.
I know it. When I'm on the airplane flying across the country, being paid good money to do X, all my shit's coming up. I'm not like surprised that it comes up for me. It's just a part of it. And I know it's coming and here it is. And so, you know, have I prepared enough? And am I willing to step up through the discomfort and go show up? And then once I get in the room, things are fine. And I know that. I know once like minute 2 happens and they're human beings and they've got all their own shit and I'm less scared than they are. Now we're in good. Now we're in, you know, now I can show up,
Well, that's
you know,
because you've put in enough reps. And I
right
love how
on.
you said the word fuel before. I tell people all the time, you want a bigger fire, get more fuel on it. I tell people all
Yep.
the time, you're seeing a valley out in California nuke off or out in Arizona. It's because there's probably 20, 30 years of built up fuel from Mother Nature and fire hasn't been in
Yep.
there in a while. And
Yep.
yeah, it's a powder keg waiting to go off. So take
Yep.
that into what else you're doing. I mean, use those emotions as fuel for the fire.
Right
And
on.
you already said this. The one way to get better at it is you got to put the reps in enough. Like again, I wasn't trying to rip on an 18-year-old coach before, but like if
Yeah.
they've got a great baseline of knowledge, now all they got to do is keep it executing. Don't give up.
Yep.
Keep
Yep.
putting the reps because now you're toughening that skin and you're exercising and you're learning. And then
Right.
if you're good enough, man, in a couple of years, no one's even worried about that age. They're like, dude,
Yep.
he could talk the talk, he could walk the walk. So he or
Yep.
she. So
Yep.
yeah.
No, I dig it. I mean, the X factor for us as we continue to scale our company has always been around courage, not about competency. I mean, there's lots of smart people out there that know a lot about human beings and psychology and sociology and phenomenology, the philosophical background of our work,
Sure.
which is phenomenology. But that's the easy part. Like knowing the book stuff is easy. Like having courage and conviction and being willing to be undone for the sake of another. That's the hard part. So I'll take an 18-year-old that's got enough of that and willing to learn and just willing to listen and mimic, to your point earlier. That's great. Come mimic me, but you got to mimic the presence. You got to like attitudinally mimic. That's the harder part. So I'm with you. I know you're not dogging on 18-year-olds, me either, but you guys better know exactly what's going on and you don't know what you're talking about. But you can really, if you throw yourself at it, because you know what you don't want to be is like, I need to wait until I'm 38 to then be qualified.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
no.
Put in the reps now.
Put in the reps now. Do it now. Look like a fool now.
Oh yeah. I had learned that. I put a chapter out on my book too called vulnerability. Because
Awesome.
if anything, the one thing I didn't realize was adding firefighter later in my career actually brought even more walls up. And I was like very lacking on the emotion front. And
Yep.
I'm completely transparent nowadays. I could say anything, do anything, which is very empowering. And
Yep.
it's also helped me win my wife because like after 1 year of dating, she dumped my ass because she's like, I don't have the time for this. I can't get through to you. And obviously I want her back because we're married now. We've been together for 10 years. So it's
Yep.
like, oh, okay. And apparently vulnerability is sexy. Now, obviously, take that topic though and apply it into your business world. Imagine
Yep.
how much power you can gain from that, just being a little bit more real and transparent. And that's what I'm hearing from you. And
100%.
yeah, or it's vulnerability.
Yeah. I mean, that's the willingness, because most people, especially if you're a leader, most people are assuming how you feel. And they're probably seeing you act confident. And they're assuming that, and then they're feeling how they feel, which is they're less confident than you, most likely. And then they seem like there's a huge gap between them and you. And your job as a leader is to let them in and let them know. I mean, I was just talking with a client today. She's making a big jump and she's in the corporate world. One of the kind of outliers for me, I work mostly with founders and CEOs. She's not. She's the future division lead for a huge multinational company.
Cool.
And she's sitting down and having all these, what do they call them? Like assessment conversations with their team, and then
like
doing
reviews and stuff like that.
Reviews. Thank you. Reviews and money. And, I was thinking about, I don't know if you know who Chris Voss is, but Chris wrote, never split the difference. And anyway, they had to say some bad news to these folks. And I'm just like, if you beat them to the bad news. Like, hey, this is going to be a really tough conversation. And I don't even like having this conversation. I think this is going to be really hard. You might not like me. You might not stay here. That takes balls to say that instead of having kind of what's like the best version of a crappy conversation can we have? Or can we have the real bad news up front and they feel your honesty, they feel your presence. And I can say all that in the context of commitment to them and commitment to the future.
Yeah.
So
I can tell you that was one of the most painful things of leading teams years ago in the corporate space was my mentor told me, like, the worst part of this job is firing people, letting them go. But if anything, he's like, here, you got to flip the switch. He's like, you're helping them find where they're meant to go, where they're going to go next. They have to take, they're not fitting. It's not going to work. Hopefully they make their own decision to leave. But it's like, if they're not clicking and they're not willing to grow, help them on their way.
That's right.
Because you're only going to help them get to someplace happier, hopefully one day.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Well, listen, I want to give you proper time to get pass on. I know you got to move at the top of the hour. We've been dropping bombs today, man. Like I said, I was not worried about quality content and having a great conversation with you. But on that note, because of your very diverse background, unlike myself, I love to have my guest co-host leave behind some words. And over the years, it's become I've changed it. Now I'm actually referencing it as a legacy. And I've realized as I've matured, I'll be 46 this year, and I've done a lot. And I said, what is the legacy we're leaving behind this world? So now I decided to incorporate that into the show as a guest co-host. I mean, what is the legacy message you want to leave behind for the audience?
Yeah. Well, I love it. I love it. We talk about legacy a ton. And I think about it, especially as a dad. That's mostly where I think about being a legacy. We got 4 kids between me and my wife. And I think about this a bunch. So, I mean, my legacy is always like, go be all in and be all here. That's what I think about. Like, my commitment level is, I'll just compete with anybody at my commitment level. Like, I want to be the guy, we'll see results wise, but you can't outwork me. You can't out-presence me. You can't out-grit me. Like, let's just go. I'm going to be all in. And I love competition. I love finding the edge of myself. I love all that. And at the same moment, I want to be all here, all present for it. Right. So being, especially with my young kids, talking about the deep complexities of life. Like, I do XYZ now. Things seem to come easier for me now, blah, blah, blah. But it's not always been like that, nor will it always be like that. So, like, really sharing the struggle in life.
Yep.
As a part of it. And there's joy in that. Like, if you struggle well, like aiming at some meaning, struggle will come up actually faster than if you're not aiming at anything. If I aim at something, difficulties will come faster. And that's hard. And all my insecurities, they're not going away. They're going to be here at some level. They're going to be here. And so I want to be able to talk about those, I mean, even with my 9-year-old, when we were out on the golf course, I just said, hey, how am I doing as a dad?
Wow.
And my dad never asked me that question. My dad's a lovely guy. I don't think he ever asked me that either. No, how am I doing as a dad? And I don't want that answer. A part of me is like, oh shit. What might he say?
Yeah, but summing up those amazing words, I was like, my mentor popped in my head. He said, be here now.
Yeah.
Be in the moment.
Yep.
Well said.
Awesome.
I love it.
Good to be with you, Scott.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Adrian, I know you got to get at the top of the hour. Do you have a second hang tight off the air, or are you going right in the next meeting?
I got to jump. I got
All right, brother.
waiting for me.
I'll close it out. Thank you for attending today. We'll be in touch. So, ladies and gentlemen, Adrian rocked the mic for you guys today. Again, leadership coach. Check out takenewground.com. And remember, We're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Adrian helped us do that today. So thanks for tuning in. And remember, you too could live the fuel. We'll talk to you guys again soon.